Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Did you drink all that coffee?
No, I just went to Starbucks.
What? They do that?
Yeah.
How often do you go pick it up? How
Often, but I just haven't been going lately.
Mhm.
I need to go more often.
If you ever need someone to go to Starbucks for any reason, I will do it. Any excuse for coffee.
DACA? Well, I'm kind of skeptical. For once, I feel like, with the judge making the injunction again and on DACA, I feel like it would lose momentum and it might just slow down the process because there won't be a sense of urgency. My DACA expires on June 1st, so that was after March 5th.
The Department of Homeland Security is taking steps to lift the shadow of deportation from these young people.
My name is Ivan Vasquez.
My name is Josh.
My name is Italia Rico.
Well, I'm Siri Barrera.
My name is Liz Elizondo Schreppert.
My name is Evis.
My name is Astrid and I'm a dreamer.
Born and somewhat raised in Colombia, moved to the US when I was 8, but currently I'm a full-time student at Rollins College. I'm a biology major and a global health minor.
I'm a student at Seminole State. I'm also an organizer at the Farm Worker Association of Florida.
I'm an industrial engineering student here at the University of Central Florida. Currently, my role on campus, I am the SGA Speaker of the Senate.
Class of 2020. I have my own business, which is a crane service company here in Orlando.
So I am currently a full-time student at Rollins College, pursuing my bachelor's degree in business management with a minor in healthcare management.
I teach one history class at Valencia College, and then I also work at the Mainland Art and History Museum.
I'm studying elementary education here at Rollins, but I want to in the future be a college professor.
My DACA story, I guess, starts in 1995. I was 10 years old when my parents decided they needed to do something better for our family. My father had a business in Mexico. He was a truck driver. And when the North American Free Trade Agreement came into effect in 1994, it really affected his business. It pretty much took him out of business. And a year later, in 1995, my parents decided they needed to try something else, something new. And we moved to California. It was me, I was 10, my sister was 8, and my brother was 7. So they kind of packed us up and said, we're going to Disneyland, and never told us the real story, but that was the plan all along. So we came over on a tourist visa, and they just decided to stay. We entered the school system that summer. So we came in June. By August, we were all in school. And for 17 years, I was what you would call an undocumented student.
I've been in the United States for 10 years. And the main reason that we came here was because my mom was sick. We had been applying for a visa since my mom moved here. She moved in here in 1998. And since she moved in, we were trying and we would go and apply for visas, and every time we would get denied. In 2006, my aunt made the decision to bring us to this country undocumented because my mom was terminally ill and we had no other option. It's been 10 years now that we've been here, and this is our new life. I'm from Honduras, and our country is very unsafe. My sister and I witnesses horrible things while we were living there. At one time, we were playing outside in our porch, and a guy with her girlfriend was just walking in front of us when they got shot. I was like 10 years old, and my sister was 6. I remember we just started running inside the house, and the girlfriend from the guy that got shot ran with us and came inside the house as well, and we didn't know what was happening. And unfortunately, that is something very common back home. You hear all the time, people getting shot, people getting murdered, and there's no action. And we discovered later on that that person got shot because he used to be part of a gang, and he decided to leave the gang. He decided to leave the gang for his family, but that's not an option there. Once you're part of a gang, you can't leave it. The only way out is death.
My mom left Honduras when I was 3 years old. She had a accident back in Honduras, a car accident, and she had to come to the United States with an emergency visa to try to save her eyes after that accident. And throughout the years that she stayed here in the U.S., we were back in Honduras, my older sister, my aunt, and my grandpa. And my grandpa was kind of like the mother and father figure for me. And every year we tried going to the U.S. Embassy to try to get a visa and come see my mother, and we were denied every time. And when we came here, once again, a different culture, a different family, because I didn't know my mother. You know, I talked to her on the phone, but it was really different. I had to assimilate to that. Also, when we decided to come to the United States, it was because she was diagnosed with cancer. And we knew that if, you know, the embassy didn't want to give us the visa, we had to come one way or another to see our mom. And that's when we came undocumented. When I came in here, I felt like I have left my whole life behind, and I was here in an unknown place. And my community was able to involve me, was able to make me recognize that, you know, my life doesn't end here. My future doesn't end here. My future is just getting bigger and larger.
I'm originally from Hidalgo, Mexico. I was born there, and then when I was around like 4 years old, I came here with my mom. And you know, at that young age, you don't really, you know, think like, oh, you know, doing anything wrong or anything. My dad was here, so we came to meet him here, and yeah, it was nothing that I think like fully comprehended at the time. I was, you know, like a 4-year-old. But it was like completely new experience, new, everything was new. Like I just remember like the yogurt, like even the yogurt, I'm like, this is not the yogurt I'm used to. Like, you know, from little things like that to like huge things. So like not being able to understand anyone or anything. And like one of like the key things, like I remember when I was coming here, I stayed like with this family, and the guy was like, "Oh, you want to watch football in English?" I did speak like absolutely no English, but the only thing I understood was football. So I'm like, "Yes." And then he turns on and it's American football. So that was, you know, it's like, oh, no, not in Kansas anymore. Like, yeah, like little things like that, and then like getting put like to like the school system and everything. And I remember like I lived like in front of a school, but I couldn't go there because they didn't have like an ESOL program, so I had to go to like another school that was like like considered far away, considering that I live like right across from it. And then like my mom being like really worried that I would get lost like coming back home, or you know, anything like that. And even just getting like registered to school, we had to like walk and bike to like find like schools and going through like the whole process. And like actually then getting to school, and I got here like half the school year, like almost half the school year, and they told me like I had to learn how to read. And like past like we said, like all of these like things or they would help me back. So that's like the like like my goal that became like immediate. So that's why I think like education has really like been an outlet for me to like all that like change that was going on in my life, all the like uncertainty, like all those things. I just like channeled it to like, you know, learning something for myself. And I remember like we had recess, but I would not go to recess. I would just sit there and like read and like, you know, like just sit there. And then I later on, when I finished like my book, I called my mom and my teacher and was like, guys, I can do this, because I just wanted to prove myself, and I did not want to like fall behind or anything like that. And then I was able to finish like in half like the school year, and yeah, move on.
So
I come from Mexico, and my family came here because of many reasons, you know, primarily because of poverty and because of we weren't safe in Mexico. There was just a lot of violence, and like you would hear people getting robbed and shot, and even killed, and especially in the area that I'm from, Jalisco. There's a lot of the the drug dealers, like the ones that bring the drugs into the U.S. and stuff. So it's a really hot area for crime, and also like the fact that there weren't a lot of jobs available. My parents had to eventually move to the States, and therefore they brought us all, myself and my other two brothers. We tried to apply for visas, and also my grandma tried to sponsor us, and because she's a resident, but it's just like the migration system is messed up, is broken. You can't. She couldn't help my mom, and my grandpa, he couldn't help her either. So that's why we just ended up just crossing the border and coming into the States. And I knew that we were undocumented, but I just didn't know like what it actually meant, what it would, like the repercussions it would have in my life as an adult.
Oh, my DACA story. Well, interestingly, we know about the narcotic situation and the wars in the 90s in Colombia. Well, I was born in 1990, and that's when my parents decided that deflected bullets on the streets or car bombs were not exactly a great way or at the atmosphere for a baby, especially a female. Somehow they worked their way out and they moved to the US. They left everything behind, their professions, their titles, everything so I could have a future. I was 8 and I didn't understand. All I knew, I was going to Disney. Oh, I'll meet Minnie and Mickey one day. When it comes to why did you stay for so long? Well, we did move into the US. We flew with Delta Airlines. We had a plan. My dad was a professional and he had a nice job outlook for the future in Georgia. And unfortunately, things didn't go well because the lawyer that we paid thousands of dollars kind of ran away with the money. And it was at a time where we were in debt with all of our friends because we were trying to pay for this process, immigration process. We went all the way towards the step of the Labor Department. And that's when the guy said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I gotta leave." We didn't know what to do. We were in debt. On one side, if we go back to Colombia, how do we start again? Because again, we didn't have much family. We don't have much family there. And then we owed all this money to our friends. So we decided to stay. We tried again through sponsorship. And my dad was being subcontracted somehow through AT&T. And the owner at the time, he said, "Okay, I'll help you with the process. I'll find a lawyer." But months after, again, things went down because of 9/11. The economy went down and the subcontractors' economic resources as well. So we were stuck again in limbo, but our visas had expired already. What do we do? Just keep on going. So there's always this ideal of all DACAs or immigrants have crossed the border, which if I had to for survival, just like my family did, of course, I understand. But yeah, we actually flew. We legally took an airplane, Delta, and we tried to become residents and we tried to be legal here. But for so many reasons that only God knows, things just shut off at the last minute. But here we are. We're just going from obstacle to obstacle. We have the experience of starting from scratch, but that's great because you don't know you're here today, and even if you're a citizen, you don't know what could happen to the world tomorrow. And at least one thing that we have as DACA students is that we are ready to start again, and we are stronger than ever. And this is who we are. We don't give up. It's not an option.
I was born in Ecuador. My dad was also born in Ecuador. My mom in Venezuela. My two brothers in Venezuela as well, which are older. We moved to South Florida when I was about 7 years old. And I knew no English coming here, but I picked it up quickly, I guess. I mean, I was just going with it. And ultimately, as I got older, I mean, I don't know any different from anything. I was just hanging out with my friends, going through classes, whether I liked them or not. But ninth grade came around, and my best friend, he invited me on a cruise with his parents. They're like, oh, we're going to go ahead and pay for it. So I was like, let's do it. I've never been on a cruise. And I went up to my parents and I asked them, I was like, hey, can I go? They're going to pay for it, expecting like a yes. And they were like, you can't. And I was like, why? What's going on? And essentially they're like, you can't really leave the country. And I was like, okay. So they kind of explained it to me a little bit, but again, ninth grade, what am I, 14 years old? I can only grasp so much, especially with these topics. So then so the following year, I guess, all my friends would always tell me, right when you turn 15, get your permit. You don't want to wait, you want to get your license as soon as possible. So of course, 2 weeks before I turned 15, I go to my parents, I'm like, we got to sign up for these courses, like, let's get my permit. And they're like, you can't. And I was like, what do you mean? So again, they try to explain a little bit more, and at this point, I'm getting a little bit grasp of, I guess, the immigration situation and whatnot. So that went on, and the following year was really when things started getting real, because at this point I'm 16 and everyone is essentially applying for college, and I have no avenue to do that. So long story short, we were thinking of a lot of possibilities of what can we do, and ultimately DACA was implemented. Literally for my scenario, perfect timing, essentially. By the time it was brought out, and by the time you applied and got everything came in, I was a junior in high school, perfect time to apply.
This morning, Secretary Napolitano announced new actions my administration will take to mend our nation's immigration policy, to make it more fair, more efficient, and more just, specifically for certain young people, sometimes called dreamers. Now, these are young people who study in our schools, they play in our neighborhoods, they're friends with our kids, they pledge allegiance to our flag. They are Americans in their heart, in their minds, in every single way but one, on paper.
For 17 years, I was what you would call an undocumented student. I went straight from high school to college, undergrad in California, and then did my master's as an undocumented student. And I also started my PhD program as an undocumented student. So 17 years of being in that limbo situation of not knowing what's next. And that's part of the reason what kept me in school so long. I did have the opportunity to get a job. I did get a business degree as an undergrad, and I did get a job offer with an accounting firm, but I just couldn't take it because I didn't have a social security number. So the university sort of became this bubble where I knew how to maneuver it. I knew how to get scholarships. I knew how to get into the system, and I just stayed there because it was safe and it was comfortable. So graduations came and nothing had changed in terms of my situation, so I just applied for another program and I kept getting in. And it was definitely scary by the time I was into the PhD program, because I knew I didn't want to get to PhDs, and I just wanted to have something after. So going into it, I didn't know if that was going to be the case.
When time flew, I was about to graduate from high school, and my counselor kept telling me, don't take the SATs, you don't have a social. Don't think about college, you don't have a social. You don't have a future here. And, inside I thought, okay, this is ignorance, because if you're a counselor in a high school, you should motivate your students no matter what obstacles there are in the future. Either way, that's when everything hit me. And also I graduated. I was 17, a few months, I turned 18. So I was officially undocumented, and it really hit me. I couldn't get a driver's license. I couldn't help my parents with a job. Everything was just so low-key, how we say it nowadays. And the stress was huge. My parents separated after I graduated. A lot of things happened that year, but it made me stronger. I made a decision to move to Florida, from Georgia to Florida that year, and I said I am going to get stable somehow. And Florida has culture, at least more than Georgia at times. I'm not sure, but I started working at the convention centers modeling was more of a help me now, I need to get paid now, and get an apartment of my own. And I brought my mother and my brother probably a month and a half after I got stable. And I was still thinking, well, what is my future? Who am I? I'm still undocumented, and I'm working for cash, but I'm still paying my taxes because I have a tax ID. When I became a DACA student, or DACA person, and I applied to Valencia College, and they said, okay, you can do a payment plan, just start college. You need a future for yourself. I said, thank you, because it's been 5 years since I graduated from high school. I'm 21, and I'm eager to learn. I'm eager to have a future. I think we all deserve that. And it's a country of opportunities, and I'm working hard for it. I started studying Monday through Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sundays from early in the morning to almost midnight, working at the airport. And it was a really nice experience when you learn that you can juggle so much and you never thought you could. So it just makes you more responsible. But that's when I started saying, I'm DACA, and I'm not ashamed of that, because that means that my parents left everything behind for me to have a future, and here I am working for it. So that's me. I'm DACA. There's nothing to be ashamed of.
There were just so many kind people that I met along the way that helped me, either in the way the best possible way that they could, either getting me into school or like opening the doors. They were always, like doors that just permanently closed, like, not being able to get a driver's license. That door just stayed closed until like DACA was started, back in 2012. That's when I was for the first time able to get a driver's license, social security card, and therefore get a job, a job that paid fairly well compared to the other jobs that I had. There were some of them like either under the table or just, working for staffing companies. But I always pay my taxes. I always pay my taxes because I had a tax ID. So, for those that say that undocumented folks don't pay taxes, that's a lie. That's a myth, and they need to know the facts.
I'm originally from Hidalgo, Mexico. I was born there, and then when I was around like 4 years old, I came here with my mom. And that young age, you don't really think like, oh, doing anything wrong or anything. My dad was here, so we came to meet him here, and yeah, it was nothing that I think like fully comprehended at the time. I was like a 4-year-old, but it was like completely new experience. Everything was new. Like I just remember like the yogurt, like even the yogurt, I'm like, this is not the yogurt I'm used to. Like from little things like that to like huge things. So like not being able to understand anyone. So like I said, like my parents always told me like, study, like education is like the one thing nobody's ever going to be able to take away from you. So like I really like took that to heart, and like that's where I poured myself into, and I took like every opportunity was like a blessing for me. I was like, oh, I'm able to do like all of this and all of that, and like throughout middle school and all of that, like I wasn't sure that I was gonna be able to like even go to college. I didn't know, I just didn't know what were the options for me. And then like in like working hard and all of this, and then that's another like big like thing of DACA, like it like all the hard work like putting into like getting grades and all of this.
With the values instilled in me that education is important, I took my high school years seriously. I volunteer at the Hub Community Center a lot, all my free time went there. But I also was really involved in different organizations at school, and obviously excelling in my honors and AP classes. Based on that, I graduated with a really good GPA. And during seniors awards night, I was invited to go, and I actually got they called my name. I have no idea why. They called my name, and they gave me a Florida Bright Futures certificate that I was awarded that. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. It's going to cover my, I was thinking it's going to cover my school. I really, this money that I'm saving up, I can use it for this other thing. And when I went to my guidance counselor to say, hey, I got this, how do I get the money? How do I, apply it to the school that I'm going to? And she said, oh, all you have to do is fill out the FAFSA. And I said, okay, and I go and fill out the FAFSA. The first thing that it asked at that time was your social security number. I went back to my guidance counselor and I said, oh, I don't have a social security number. And she said, then you can get it. And all of that excitement that, hey, I got this for all the hard effort that I put in my high school, years, and I have it. It's on my name. It has my name, but I'm not able to get that money because I don't have the social security. That was really hurtful. And for a time during senior year, it's hard because, you have your goals. You have your high ambitions and your high goals, and you're not I wasn't going to stop, but it's making it harder. There's more blocks and blocks around the way that are really unnecessary. And it's not that I don't want to go to school, and it wasn't that, anything else. It's just unnecessary roadblocks that really I didn't create them. So DACA came about in 2012, around the year that I graduated high school. And I had, like I mentioned, my older sister. She was already in college, so I knew it was possible. And I knew that I was going to college no matter what, no matter if I'm paying 3 times the amount the regular people paid. I'll start slowly, but I'll go there surely. I didn't want it to stop. By the time DACA came around, it was obviously an amazing opportunity, a blessing. Some people were scared, but I saw it as an opportunity. And we went ahead and, I started. I was able to not only get into tuition, I was able to work, and I was able to, most importantly, get a driver's license. And, when you're 15, 16, and you go and get a driver's license, that's a really big deal for you. As a older, 17 years old, I was not that older, actually. But as a person that couldn't do that before, as a person that couldn't legally drive before, having the opportunity to go and take the test and pass and have that driver's license printed and know that I can drive back home without the fear of seeing a cop on the side of the road and fearing that I was going to get deported. I could take my mom to her doctor's appointment. I can take my little brother to his soccer practices. And a simple thing as going grocery shopping doesn't have to be fearful or fearing that we might probably not see my family, for the...
I'm giving tutoring at my work. We have a tutoring program, and we have a lot of high school schoolers that have DACA. We also have a lot of high school students that didn't qualify for DACA, so they have no documentation. So even though we are fighting for DACA to stay, I still feel that, it's not fair for all those other students that can't even have DACA. So I really wish we could just come to a better comprehensive immigration reform that will cover everybody, that will not just cover us, but cover everybody, because we're all here for the same reasons. There's not just some of us that are better than the others. Also, our parents, there are many parents that, they came at our same age. It's just not recently that I started thinking. My mom came to the United States when she was my age, when she was 25 years old. And she came and she couldn't see. She had just recently had an accident. She had to go through many surgeries in her eyes. And she continued going, She would being blind, she kept working and she kept providing for us. And she never gave up. And just like my mom, there's many parents that are working hard for their kids. And why can they qualify?
When the announcement of Trump saying that he was going to repeal DACA came around, again, the subject got brought back up, and at this point it became a conversation with everyone.
I'm here today to announce that the program known as DACA that was effectuated under the Obama administration is being rescinded. The DACA program was implemented in 2012 and essentially provided a legal status for recipients for a renewable 2-year term, work authorization, and other benefits, including participation in the Social Security program to 800,000 mostly adult illegal aliens. The policy was implemented unilaterally to great controversy and legal concern after Congress rejected legislative proposals to extend similar benefits on numerous occasions to this same group of illegal aliens.
Since it was repealed, there's definitely a lot of anxiety. I'm not, like you said, I'm not in that category. I was able to marry and my husband petitioned for me, so I'm actually on my way to get my citizenship now. But my brother is a dreamer. He's still in that limbo situation. So I definitely stayed in touch with everything that's going on. I have a lot of friends who are in that situation. And as people opened up about it, you sort of created these little communities of people that you know and you interact with. So it's definitely something that gives, even though I'm okay at this point and I can't be deported and everything's fine, you still feel anxiety towards the people that are close to you, and it is going to be a tearjerker that needs some help.
So I would be afraid of starting again, starting from zero. It's hard when you don't have any family. My example, I have barely any family members alive. But I'm mostly scared for my little brother. He's 16. He was born here, so he's a citizen. But he needs a family. He's in high school. He needs his parents. And sometimes he needs me, calculus, something. We're a unit. We've only been 4 this whole time. And separating us, it would hurt greatly. Every day that I come back home from school, I wonder if my parents are home as well. Because my mom takes a lot of buses to do anything. Groceries, go to church. She takes millions of buses. She's out there in the public. One day she could be deported. My dad, he is a low voltage engineer. He has his little company and he works with the little projects because he lacks the documentation, obviously. But what he does it well, and he has been able to help us help at home. Maybe not too steady. But I feel that, one day or one weekend, he goes to St. Petersburg. What if he doesn't come back? That hurts. It's always been the 4 of us. It wouldn't be great to lose them because I have nobody else. They're also my home. I'm afraid.
Get to know me. Get to know who I am. Because that's the best way you can, don't try to argue with the statistics or this and that. Just get to know the person. Go to the house, meet their family, meet their kids. Because xenophobia causes us to feel afraid of the unknown, the others, people that we don't know, that we're not familiar with, people that have a different culture, a different skin color. So if you step out of your comfort zone and you go and meet them and get to know them and visit them, you'll actually end up, loving them and being and actually advocating for them. And I guarantee you, most of the people that feel that way is because they have never, ever encountered one. They have never once talked to them one-on-one and asked about their story. Just calling someone something and, illegal, it has a negative connotation. So people right away think of illegal, you think of criminals, and you don't think of human beings. You don't think of, farm workers out in the fields sweating and, in order to bring food to your table.
A lot of people don't have the ability to vote, or in some places they might even feel threatened because of their status that they can't speak up. You can be that voice for somebody. So I would encourage you to get to know somebody for more than what they report on, for more than the numbers. Get to know them and be that voice for them, because the reality is that a lot of people cannot speak up for their own safety, And if you have that opportunity to speak up for somebody, take it, because it could mean that to keep like their family together, and that is really big and very real right now.
There's a lot that people don't know, and when you don't know something, you're afraid of that. And when you're afraid of that, you repeat the stuff that people say, and some of the stuff might not be true. But since you don't know about it, you just repeat it. And by that I mean the myths that are around undocumented, how bad they are, or how they didn't went in line and did it the right way. If you're educated and you know the story of somebody, you're able to stand up and tell them, hey, there is no right way. There is no line for them to go. And you're able to educate others. And not in a nasty way telling them, hey, you're wrong, and pointing fingers, but doing it in a compassionate way, because the people don't know either. It's not like they're evil people. They just are not aware of it. And you are now. You're being empowered. So now you're able to speak up with others. And by speaking up with others and being empathetic and compassionate with them as well, you're able to bring them along and sharing that. And what we can do as well is college students are part of organizations in their school as well. They can share that with their organizations. They can share the topic and have a day just discussing the topics of what they know and educating themselves about it, Organizations can do that as well. I believe that as DACA, we're not required to tell our bosses that we are DACA, that we are dreamers. And we're not. It's not mandatory. But I believe it's important to share that.
Do you? It's pretty simple. Something that I like to do is, again, question myself, question the actions that I'm taking, and ultimately find your purpose. Don't drive yourself crazy. It's not easy, and it's a thing that takes patience. And you ask yourself, why do I enjoy doing this? And you try to understand yourself at a deeper level. There are struggles that are always going to be there, especially if you don't have certain statuses, and you're going to have to fight through them. It's just the reality. But what can you do to better yourself as a person is just that. Question a lot of what you do. Find who you truly are, because if you just go through the motions and try to concentrate materialistic things, goals that are kind of step by step, you get caught up in all that and forget why you're doing it. So, as a person, you got to be questioning what you do at all times to find a deeper meaning of your purpose.
Part of the Dreamer movement has been this openness towards sort of admitting in a way that you are a dreamer. Dreamers grow up in this, which is what people don't understand, right? Because they see you and they say, you speak perfect English. There's no way, you didn't grow up here. There's kids that came here when they were babies, right? So being open about something that's so private, I think in the internet world is definitely easier. And a lot of support comes out of that. Just being able to meet other people that are like you, and people that are willing to answer whatever questions you have in an honest and safe environment.
Don't be afraid to contact your elected officials and tell them your story. Don't be afraid also to defend, your parents that might be undocumented, or family members to be undocumented. This is really an opportunity for us to show the rest of the country how we can grow together.
And activism didn't start with Martin Luther King, and it won't end with us. There will always be someone that's being suppressed, whether it's the LGBTQ community, you name it. So, and it's our responsibility as human beings, as fellow citizens, to fight for one another, for us to be free. Because if I'm not free, you're not free. So our freedom is bound to one another.
Share your story. You never know what can come from that. And know that, yes, we are in fear. And yes, we live day to day with fear. But there's also hope. Never give up hope.
Yeah, there is a lot of people that believe in us. There is a lot of people that wants to help. And I believe by sharing our stories, we're letting other people to get to know ourselves, as well as we get to know other people, because sometimes we come across people that have different beliefs than us. And I also believe it's important to hear them out and to hear what they have to say. Why do they believe that DACA is a bad thing? And many occasions, the answer that I get is, why didn't you've been here for 10 years. Why didn't you just become a US citizen? And then that's when I tell my story. That's when I said, I can't. If I could, I would have done it.
If you work hard for something, I think you deserve to live that dream. And all we've done is the best that we could do with what we have. So, yes, I'm documented.
Sophomore year, I was in Lead Scholars Program, and we had a guest speaker come in. There was a point, it was called Mars 2020, and they wanted to get 4 people or 2 people, I don't remember the exact number, to Mars. And one of the final 50 out of millions of applicants was a grad student at UCF. And he came in and spoke and, asked them, why do you want to do this? This ultimate question. And he said simply, and to put it in this sense, we're students here at UCF, right? And I'll even start smaller with myself. I'm in a fraternity. I have my brothers. That is, in certain senses, my community. You go outside of that, you go into UCF. If I see someone else in a fraternity or sorority, oh, we're both Greek, You go outside of that, you go to the mall, and I see someone wearing a UCF jacket. We're both UCF students. You continue that, you go across country borders. Oh, we're both Americans. You start to pull back the big picture. And what he ultimately said is, you get to that deepest point of community because you are the only people on a different planet, and you are people together.